Second video. Remember before I had 400 and was it 20, 40 or 60 grams in this 822 gram system, and now I just added back the 220 grams that it was short on. What was I going to say? Oh, so remember it was 75. Oh, and the low side was wrong in the last video, in the number 2 video. It was coming out 39 degrees out of the dash with the 400 and some odd grams, what was nearly halfway empty. And under this scenario, it's now 100% full. It has the 822 grams in it. But remember the superheat. Well, it was off because my suction line was not screwed in under the way, and I had bleed by a little refrigerant left inside the system. It was 9 psi. That was wrong. After I screwed in from the first video with 460 grams, I believe it was in the first video, it was 29 psi. Now we have 822 grams in the system, and we're at 31 psi. It's only a 2 psi difference. Most of your analog gauges, if you had one of those old and archaic analog gauges that guys used to use back in the Stone Ages, if you're still using one of those, most of them are out of calibration by 2 psi. So you would not be reading a true reading anyway. So this guy's good to go, and let's see what we got going on here. A 155 on the high side. Remember our superheat, remember our subcooling. I think we were only a 9 subcooling, now we're 20 subcooling on this vehicle under these conditions at this temperature at idle. That always makes a difference. And let's see on this vehicle, what is his temperature of the discharge line. You know, getting a hold of that discharge line just is no fun. I wish I could reach it from underneath and around. Hold on. It's gonna burn the hell out of my arm is what it's gonna do. My fingers are trying to get it. There it goes. Got it. Got a nice good bite. Still should be hot. Just a few degrees cooler. Around about the 154 it was. It's still 150, 152. So that has not changed. But what does change is the mass flow of refrigerant that sweeps through the evaporator and comes back. Because as it leaves the expansion valve, it's going into a larger orifice. It's going from a small tube liquid through a small orifice, then expanding into a large pipe. And without the mass flow of refrigerant, it does not sweep through all the oil because it carries oil with it, and it doesn't always sweep it all the way through and come back. And as the refrigerant level goes down, more oil starts piling up inside the evaporator as you go down on refrigerant level, and the compressor starts starving for one is oil and a cool flow of return refrigerant. And that's why when you take off burnt up compressors off of a car or a compressor making a noise, it's because usually it came in there with a low charge of refrigerant, and you go to pour out the oil and no oil comes out, or maybe a half an ounce, few drops. Well, that's because it's all in the evaporator, and that's because somebody let it go down, or you got those top off guys who just squirt in the refrigerant until they get a cold temperature out the dash, and they say, oh, that's good enough. But what they just did was they starved the compressor for cooling. They starved the compressor for oil return. It stays up in the evaporator. It's enough to cool off the passengers, but there was nothing to take care of the compressor. And those are the guys who destroy customers' compressors by saying they're doing a good job by whacking off the little cans. And they go, oh yeah, I charge a lower price because I just use the little cans. And those are the guys who make us a lot of money. We have to send them a little dividends check, a little Merry Christmas check for making us a lot of money, but unfortunately screwing the customer. See you guys.